Welcome to the Big Kickoff League of Ireland podcast with myself, Roy Shanahan. As always, Nathan Doyle from thebigkickoff.com. And we're delighted to be joined today by former Wexford manager Brian OSullivan. Brian, welcome to the Big Kickoff League of Ireland podcast.
It's lovely to join, lads. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, we're delighted to have you on. It's great to get a lot of different opinions from around the league, and the league's so important to us all, and football is so important to us all. We need to share the voices around. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about your time, because I know you've gone through a lot of Leinster Senior League clubs in your progression with your coaching badges and stuff, and that led you on to Wexford. So maybe tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, I suppose I first got into coaching through a man called Frank Price. He was coaching me with Francis when we were in the League of Ireland with St. Francis. He got me involved in a soccer academy up in Tallaght in coaching. And when I was playing with Francis, playing up in Dundalk, I got a bad injury. I was out for about 2 years after, I think, with an ankle injury. So I just picked up coaching then, probably about 22, 23, with the idea hoping to get back. It was the time when Francis went with the merger with St. Pat's. I don't know if you would have remembered it. And we were invited to go back with the under-21s then. I still was 19 when I was playing with Francis. And so I was hoping to go back with that, but it never happened through the injury. And as I said, I got involved with Frank on a soccer academy up in Tallaght. And then from there, I got involved with Belgrove under-21s. When Pete Mann was involved with Belgrove, they set up a 21 team which played in the League of Ireland. So Mick Hayes was the manager, and I just got involved through Mick then. And it just started ever since then. When I did get back playing, I was kind of playing around the same level I was coaching at, Leinster Senior League, and I was coaching. I was doing the two. It didn't work out, and I just enjoyed the coaching, and I stuck with it. Probably a little bit too soon, if I'm being honest. When I look back now, I should have kept playing. But look, hindsight's a great thing. So it started off with Belgrove, and we were out there. It was a great club. And from the 21s, I went with the senior team. It was a really good senior team. Pete, they just won the Intermediate Cup, and they won the Leinster Senior League First Division. And Pete actually went to UCD, and I went in with Tootsie out with Belgrove. And so I was there for about a year, 2 years at Belgrove, maybe even a little bit longer. So I went over to America coaching in Major League Soccer camps. I think it was 2 years over there, 2 9-month periods it was. And I just came back then, and I got involved in a couple of other Leinster Senior League teams and local teams around Waterford. I worked with some good people over the years. When I was managing Tramore, Alfie Hale was the assistant manager.
Okay, yeah.
Alfie was a great man, unbelievable knowledge of the game. You know, like people talk about coaching badges. Alfie had no coaching badge, but he was probably the best I ever came across with. I worked with Alan Reynolds as well. We were with Tramore. Rennie was with Derry at the time as well. I was managing him. Rennie was the coach out in Tramore. He played with us as well. Worked with, as I said, Pete Mann up in Dublin, John Gill out in Malahide. So worked with some fantastic managers over the years. I did, and look, I managed myself for a good number of years with Tramore and 1 or 2 clubs up around in Leinster Senior Leagues. I think the last club I was with then up there was Bluebell, Smashing Side. Andy Newman was the manager, and just some really good players, all ex-League of Ireland players up there, and got some really good runs in the Cups. They won the league that year, Bluebell. But some really good players up there, like Bocker was up there, Andy McNulty, Willow McDonough, he was over in Carlisle. These kind of fellas, Keith Quinn. There's a lot of ex-League of Ireland players, so it was a good environment to be in. You're winning every week you are. But then I went back down to Waterford, and the Wexford job just cropped up, and I applied for it. Initially, I think they went with someone else at the start, and he'd done a U-turn, so I was offered a job, and I went into Wexford. And look, I suppose when you leave or you get sacked like I did, and there was a lot of good people up in Wexford on the committee, and chairman especially was great for me, and I never thanked him, because we haven't really spoke since. Well, I went back with Athlone, we spoke, but to this day I'd be endeavoured for giving me an opportunity in League of Ireland. I know it's down around the First Division, you're losing most weeks, but still an opportunity. There's only 20 jobs in League of Ireland, and it was an opportunity to get in. And I never thanked the club, I didn't, because there's just the nature of the way things ended up. But I still have a lot of friends up there, and I'm wishing well. And That said, it was the toughest 2 years I've ever went through, and I think I went through the whole journey with the chairman, and I'm absolutely delighted the way Reiner's is doing his business up there now, and they're doing really well. Now I hope they don't win Friday against my local side, Waterford.
I was only thinking.
But going back to the chairman, like they never lied to me up there. They didn't like there was no secret. There was literally no money in there. People talk like they don't have money. We didn't have money the first 2 years. Like we weren't paying players. I think 4 or 5 lads my first year were getting expenses. The rest weren't. The second year was pretty much the same. So we had to go in and we had to change the environment of the club. Like there was lads that wouldn't train. The first year we called training sessions off towards the end of the year. You've heard of stories, people going looking for training grounds. You don't know where you're training. That was us. We didn't know how many numbers. We'd have a training. Lads were pulling out of training sessions. It was the toughest thing. Breener was leaving 1 week. I'd be leaving the next week. He'd be leaving. I'd be leaving. And we just kept each other in it. And obviously with the chairman, Shawnee O'Shea, I found him great. And as I said, like he always said to me, you wouldn't get sacked out of this job. But I think we know that's a lie now. But no,
can't believe you fell for that one.
Yeah, but you know what? I really am. They are great people up there. Look, they literally didn't have money. Their hands were tied. There was no secret, though. In fairness, they always had my corner, and it was just about keeping the club alive for the first 2 years. The third year, we did get a little bit of money. Again, it would have been the smallest in the league, but there was a little bit there to improve. And Reiner, what we would have gave Reiner to what we took over was night and day. We had a settled training facility. It was a good facility. The culture of the club had changed. There's good lads up there. Obviously he's gone out and got a little bit better. Look, I think the club have invested this year, and I think they needed to do that. And it's great to see him being able to get the players in. And I think the fans up there deserve it. They've gone through a hard time, but everybody in the club has gone through a hard time. But look, as I said, I'd like to thank him. I'd like to wish him well going forward. But it was hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of clubs around the league that are on a shoestring, and I don't think a lot of people know that. A lot of the fans probably don't know that either. We'll talk about that a little later, because we'll be talking about Athlone Town and stuff like that. What was the major difference that you seen when going from Leinster Senior into the League of Ireland?
Well, if I'm being honest with you, when I was at some Leinster Senior League teams, they were ran better than Wexford when we went in. Like lads weren't training. Facilities, we were hopping. We were in Carlow, we were in Waterford, we were in Wexford, we were in Athlone. We were jumping around. We were, but like the likes of when we were with Malahide, lads trained, lads were always there. And it was a little bit of a shock when we went in and lads weren't training. They always had an excuse, and so we had to do a proper overhaul in the second year we were there, and we obviously had a lot of local lads the first year, and that didn't work. Unfortunately, didn't work. So you want to have local lads, so we obviously had to go into Dublin, and we came up with an idea. We'd work off. We tried to get the best of the 19s while we could. We tried to get loan players, and we pick up a few experienced players. And in fairness to us, in the second year we started off really, really well, and any bit of bad luck we could have. We actually had, we started off the season flying. I think we were fourth or fifth, and then COVID came, and we came back. We did, and our top four was Conor English, Clean Simon, Keane Cavagna, and can't think of the other winger. Who was the other winger? Conor English was one. Kaleem. And I think we lost three. We played at loan, and first game back, we lost three of them. Kaleem went to England. Keane ended up going back playing local football, I think through work or whatnot. Conor English picked a bad injury up. And the fourth one I was trying to think of was Ola. We signed Ola, and it was a dual registration, and he couldn't play. So that was 3 to 4 lads that we had up top that were just gone straight away after the fifth game. And we didn't have players to replace them, and we couldn't go out and sign lads because you just couldn't at the time. And then we started picking up injuries, and it just went downhill, and we just had some really bad results. We had a paper thin squad, and we were playing Friday, Monday, and we were going to extra time in games and stuff, and we played some real growlers. We did, and we just picked up a lot of injuries. And then it was just makeshift team, and it just was back to square one then, and it was such a promising start.
And at this stage and into your term, What was the talk from the chairman? What was the talk from, the board, people around you? Was it positive? Was it always positive, I suppose?
No, look, look, you can't be positive down there. Let's be honest. Like, you're getting better every week. It's hard. You're not paying lads. Lads come to you. They have to go into work. What do you do? Like, get rid of them, but you get rid of them, and who do you bring in? So it's just it's catch-22 up there. But the second year it started off real positive. Like, we brought lads in the pre-season, went well. We drew with Shells. We played Waterford. It was a good game. I think it was 3-1 to Waterford. We had a couple of positive results in pre-season, but it's just the 11 was decent, and then after that it was just paper thin. It was, and lads coming in. It was a group of young lads going out, and when your back's up against and you have a lot of young lads out there, look, it just didn't work. It didn't. It just didn't work, and we had to get to the end of the season, and things kept getting worse. Suspensions, injuries, and then we were going into the 19s, and it was just tough. It was, and but no, the talk from the chairman was, listen. They always said, look, we understand the job you have here, that don't be worrying about it. Like, I'd get a phone call after a bad defeat. Look, keep the head up. Don't be worrying about it. You're doing your best. Shawnee turned around to me and he said, look, we're kind of embarrassed as well here. Like, we're embarrassed what we're paying you. We're embarrassed what not paying the players. We're slightly embarrassed. He said, but our hands are tied, Brian. The club just don't have money. Sponsorships coming in. There was no crowds. There was a lot going against the club. Like I look back at it, the time, and people might laugh at it, and it was just to save the club. And then in year 3, look, a little bit of money come in, and for Ryanair, you can tell there's been a little bit of investment in. You see the training ground, the gear they're wearing, the buses they're travelling on. Look, we were driving the games. We couldn't get a bus, and to be fair to some of the players, they paid it out of their own pocket, and even to get pizzas at it after a game was tough. There was just no money there. But the lads all bought into it, and it was an opportunity for them. The play League of Ireland was an opportunity for myself. It was, but it was just extremely tough. And look, the board always had your back. They had, and they always encouraged you to just to keep going and stick at it, and that's why I thank them to this day. It was tough. And even in year 3, then look, there was a little bit of money, as I said, gone in, and I remember Rennie. I was talking to Reynolds, and the budget was this up to December, and then it kept going up a little bit in January. I remember Rennie said to me, and stick with me, he goes, buddy, he said, you don't get off to a good start, they'll get rid of you, because they don't care how they gave you the thing. They'll only look at what they have. And I said, but Rennie, it's still probably the smallest in the league. He said, I know, but they won't care. And he was right, and the club would have looked at that, where I would have wanted all the budgets in the end of September. What we have, we go out and get players, but it kept going on. It was good in one sense, the money kept coming in. Now the money kept, it was 100 here and 100 there, and it kept coming in, and but it was all handed to us in January. And then look, I kind of wanted out after the Athlone game, and chairman kept me in it, and UCD game I wanted to leave. And he kept me in it, and we had a chat about bringing players in the window, and he was asking me, who do you want? And I was like, who do we get? And I said, look, is there any point going down to Cork? And he said, look, Brian, just go down. He said, you don't know what'll happen. He said, we get to the window, we get players in, we understand. And look, obviously I'm not on social media, it obviously went into meltdown after losing seven games in a row. And look, I was done anyway. I didn't want to be there. I actually regretted going back in the third year. I didn't want to go back, and I had 1 or 2 offers, coaching jobs, and I probably would have been better off taking them. But look, it's
everything in life, Brian, it's an experience, and you will bring that with you, and you'll be the better for it in the long run. So when you go and take another job, I know you went on to Athlone to help out in Athlone. You're going from, they say, the frying pan into the fire, because it's a very similar kind of club, which should be bigger than it is. It's a club that has its own area, has the own people, has football around them, that should be probably doing better, should have that kind of local camaraderie. And Wexford, I'm not sure, I'm going to come back to you about the Wexford, what football is like, but just with Athlone, is that felt down there? Does it feel like that everyone's pulling together in that
No.
club? Because there seems to be, as we had a discussion last week, 14 managers in 10 years is absolutely ridiculous, and it just doesn't seem that the board are working or have a plan in place.
Yeah, look, you can say that about a lot of League of Ireland clubs, but I just think going to Athlone, they have a smashing stadium they have, look, and anytime anyone I talked about Athlone, you always think of AC Milan, and they've had good teams over the years, and they're good football people up there, they've got good fans up there. But I only went up for a short time. I went up I was only up there for a month with Cabsy, and look, it is a hard place. It is. You said 40 managers in 10 years, probably going into the 15th, and obviously then they would have had interim managers over the years. Look, I went up, and yeah, look, it was an eye opener up there. Adrian had his hands full. Like, I just think from where Adrian started, like we finished joint bottom with Athlone the year before, and Adrian had them up around the top of the table and in around the playoff. And obviously they wanted more, and they expected more. But even if they went up 2 or 3 places, let them there, let them build on it, bring players in. He probably would have kept the majority of the lads that were there last year. This year he would have lost a couple. He would have brought a couple in, but I think they would have had a better side and be more stability there. But look, he just had his hands full up there, Adrian. He did, and it was just unfortunate. It's unfortunate for him, because if anyone knows that the lad, he's absolutely a gentleman. You know what I mean? I think the players all liked him. He's. I never seen him hammering a player up there. I never seen him crucify a player. He got on great with players. He was a good man manager. He was. It was disappointing probably season where it ended out for the lads, because there's some good players up there. Derek Daly, Duna, you know what I mean? Gary Comerford, keeper, Slingerman. So they had good players up there. Killian Cantwell. But
give me a man there, Glenn McCauley, that came in through late on the season. He's a smashing player as well on his day.
Yeah, he is. Like, when you had goal scorers up there, you had Barnsley up there. You had good players, but for me, it's just about backing the manager. You back him, you leave him there. You get to the end of the season, you try to give as much money as you can, keep what players you want, get rid of what players, and go again the year after. But they just didn't do that. I think the board or the committee might find it hard working with managers. They might want to interfere a little bit much. Now that's just me shooting from the hip, because look, I work in sales, I do, and I have relationships with managers, and you have to have good relationships. You have to trust them, and you work through things. When you come up against a problem, the answer isn't to sack somebody; it's just to work through it. And they've gone for experience. They've gone for people with first time job. Nothing seems to work. Like Paul Doolan went in there; he was crying out for a job. He went in, he done well. But Paul obviously didn't want to stay. And he's up in the north now doing reasonably well. He is, and great manager. And they brought Martin in, and I don't know, is there money there or not? I don't know Martin personally.
There's no money there. I know for a fact that there was no money there at all. Those players offered with little or no financial repercussions, and they still couldn't take them in. I think there was little or nothing.
So and I have to agree with you, because when Martin came in up to December, they weren't signing players, and no disrespect to some of the lads they were signing lads off. Obviously, Ryan didn't want that Wexford, and they wouldn't have been getting paid there, and they'd be pulling lads out of other areas, underage things. They aren't getting paid, and it looked like the budget went into 3 or 4 or 5 lads up there, the likes of the senior players. They signed young lads. And then obviously in January they were scraping around for players. Like, I spoke to Jack Doherty after Martin got sacked, and Jack Doherty told me he was probably one of the best managers he played with. Jack was over with Ipswich. He was a schoolboy international, and he sings high praises of Martin. He just didn't have the players there. But look, he probably wanted to be out of it, Martin. It's not nice losing games. But again, for me, look, you're down around the bottom. Like, you're playing Galway, Waterford, and Cork. So if you have no budget, write them games off. You're not getting out of them, because they're full-time teams. And then the teams in around you, if you don't have the same budget as them, like, you're not that much, just leave Martin there. Like, no one's laughing at the club or laughing at people there. Let Martin work there. If he wanted to stay, I'd let him stay and just keep backing him. And if he's there for 3 or 4 years in the same situation, so be it. Because I always say that what's going on in the pitch is a reflection of what's going on in the boardroom. Let's be honest. We all know the best players including yourselves, lads, in the league.
Yeah.
It's not a secret. It's not a secret. You know what I mean? To get team fit and organised, it's not hard. Honestly, give me the good players. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what it is like. But the problem is when you go out and you're offering lads 50 or €100, they're not coming. You know, like I could tell you, lads. I remember I have a cousin, Desi Hutchinson. He came back from Brighton, and I rang Desi, but we knew we'd never get him. You know what I mean? He went to Waterford and he's playing JA now. But there was never a chance of getting him, like, you know, even what we're offering. So we went after fellas like that, Derek Daly, lads in Waterford, Matt Connors, Dean O'Halloran. We went after all these fellas, but they just wouldn't come because there was no money there up at Wexford. And it's extremely hard and your hands are tied. So, look, going back to myself when I was glad to get out of it, like, you know, like, you look back and you say to yourself, look, all the time I stayed with Wexford through the hard times when, you know, and your weekends are ruined. They come up against it the first time they come up against it then and they sack you. You know, you kind of look at that and people talk about loyalty in the game. A friend of mine I grew up with, he was St. Mirren manager and he went to Aberdeen, and the abuse he got online saying there's no, he's this, he's that. And I'm thinking, I goes, yeah, but down the road they'll sack him. If he's not doing what he wants, they'll sack him. He's doubled the contract or tripled the contract. He's gone to more secure. He's got a family. He's got, you know, all that kind of stuff. So why would there be loyalty in it when they do that to you? Like, I just think, I just look at clubs and the boardroom might be their failings, and they sack managers and you know, and try to push it onto the managers if it's his fault, you know, and really.
Well, that's normally the way it is. I mean, as you said, if it's not being worked on and in the background, if things aren't clicking and there's no plan, well, it's very hard to get the plan out on the pitch right. We've seen it with loads of clubs and the likes of Athlone and Wexford. I'm very interested to know, because you'll have a better knowledge than me on this. How are they with linking up with the clubs that are around them? I mean, Wexford have the whole of Wexford. Athlone have that whole area there as well. So they really should have the locals all craving to you know, the young teams wanting to get into the youth teams in Athlone, and there should be that sort of free-flowing sort of way of getting to the top team. But there doesn't seem to be any sort of connection or any sort of pathway.
You see, on that one, like with the community up there, we went up. It was broken. The club knew it. There was like David Breen and myself. Breen would have played with the likes of a couple of lads that would have played with Wexford, and they'd be with the local clubs up there. And we went to and we met a couple of them. They said, "Listen, lads, nothing against you. We're just not going to go up to the club. It's broken up there. It's broken. They really need to start working on with the community. Maybe they have now since I've left. But no, look, there's no relationship, particularly with the junior clubs up there. We couldn't sign any of the junior players, and it's disappointing. It is, because you do need that. Look, I look at Waterford, Shane Griffin. I look Keith, Dara Power, Ryan Murphy, Eddie Nolan, 6, 7, 8 lads in the first team in Waterford. And Wexford, they do need that. They do need to engage with the community, but it was toxic. It was toxic. My wife was on Twitter, and I told her, stop looking at it, stop telling me things, and I said, just get off it. I said, because it's toxic. Now, it was the club. It was the club. It did take a lot of abuse online, and look, it was tough for the lads, the chairman, and the other committee members, and it was like, it's not a nice environment to be in. And it did filter in on the players. Like, at times we were counselling some of the players. Like, lads were coming, and obviously people would come and watch the game, and they'd be getting slaughtered online, you know. And it wasn't right. Like, these lads, look, the majority of them aren't getting paid. They're out just trying to make their way in League of Ireland. Let's be honest, it's an opportunity for them trying to get picked up. Look, it was a tough situation for them to be in. Like, a lot of them were all good players. If you had senior players around them, if you took the lads out, the younger lads out, and you played them with senior lads, I think a lot of them would have went on and done better. But the problem is, we had 7, 8, 9 lads out of under 19 football, and it just didn't work, you know. And but going back to the up there, no, they when I was there was no relationship within the Wexford League, and it was sad. And a lot of them lads would have won the league. Spot Murphy, Gary Delaney, Craig McCabe, the list goes on up there, but they've no interest in playing for the club, and it is sad.
That is disappointing, and that's a failure for quite a few clubs around the country. I seen we were talking to Treaty United last year, and that's something that they wanted to include. They wanted to include the community. They wanted to have that pathway through for players to get through to the senior team, and they wanted it to be the focal point. And I think that's a big thing that these teams should be doing.